Listen up, delegates! I'm Andres Fernandez, your moderator.
I'm Eileen Rey, your deputy chair.
And I'm Dana Krugam, your chair.
Boom.
Boom.
Hello, delegates. Our committee is UNICRI, which stands for United Nations Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute. Its main base is in Italy, and it's still a part of the UN regardless of its location, and that is, in fact, an institute. The director of the institute is Dr. Jonathan Lucas. Many powerful countries such as the United States and England are part of it, with the goal of preventing world crimes and promote peace. We will be debating on two topics which will be introduced right now.
History. Women have been victims of sex trafficking for thousands of years. For many years, however, this problem was ignored until it finally became a political issue in the early 1900s. In 1902, the International Agreement for the Suppression of the White Slave Traffic was drafted. Its purpose was to prevent the procuration of women and girls for immoral purposes abroad. A few years later, 12 other countries around the world ratified this law. This eventually led to the United States passing on the Mann Act of 1910, which forbids transporting a person across state or international lines for prostitution or other immoral purposes. Allies and principal players. Sex trafficking is 90% women and girls. A great deal of the trafficking, which occurs over the world, is done in Asia. Asian women are sold to the North American brothels for $16,000 each, and 50,000 women are trafficked into the United States every year. 2 million children are forced into prostitution every year. Half of them live in Asia. Thailand is simultaneously a source, transit, and destination country for human trafficking, partly as a consequence of its geographic location. Trafficking in Thailand is also influenced by Thailand's tourism-driven economy. As in some other countries, the development of the tourism industry has included development of the sex trade. Whether or not the sex industry has been an inadvertent byproduct of the tourism industry is debatable. Asia, and a big part of Japan, are the main players. Other countries that traffic women to Japan include the Philippines and Vietnam. The United States, however, also receives a lot of women per year. The United States, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and most of Europe are countries where trafficking of women is illegal. However, this does not mean that it isn't practiced. In fact, in several of these countries, due to their size, it is practiced more than in countries where it is not legal. These are mainly countries in Africa. The main problem with the trafficking of women is that no one asks to be a slave. Women are being cheated and turned into slaves. They are told to cross the border to find good jobs and a better way of life, and instead, they are misled by recruitment officers and forced into marriage or turned into slaves. Some initiative has been taken against this, but not enough is being done. The borders of those countries that are known to be active in the trafficking of women should be much more heavily regulated. A lack of institutional capacity and cross-border networks has hampered the ability of governments and civil society to respond effectively to the problem. Therefore, the UN specifically should address these problems so the countries themselves can deal with it and the governments can start doing something about it. This information is important because people have heard about women trafficking but aren't really aware of what's going on. They should open their eyes and start doing something about it.
The history before the conflict. Land disputes between semi-nomadic livestock herders and those who practice sedentary agriculture. The use of the terms Arab and Black has been opposed because all parties involved in the Darfur conflict, whether they are referred to as Arab or as African, are equally indigenous and equally Black. Since the population of Darfur is prominently Muslim, conflict is not about race or religion, but about resources at the nomadic tribes facing drought or going after the territory of sedentary farmers. The principal players: 1. non-Arab Muslim Fur, Sagawa, and Masalid ethnic groups with the Southern Liberation Movement Army and Justice and Equality Movement groups. 2. Official Sudanese military and police, and the Janjaweed, a Sudanese militia group recruited mostly from the Arab Abala tribes of the northern Sigaita region in Sudan. 3. Omar al-Bashir, President of Sudan. The manner in which we're gonna discuss this topic is seeing different perspectives. 1. United States called it genocide, but nothing happened. Scores of mass killings in the previous century were unattended. 2. Can individuals in the Arab militia commit genocide, or does it have to be carried out by the state machinery? 3. Non-genocide scenario. 2 million Darfuris are living in displacement camps that are supervised by the government, and 1 million Darfuris live peacefully in Khartoum. Points of view. United Nations panel found no genocide, but that crimes against humanity have been committed in a counterinsurgency operation. If the government didn't have the intention to commit genocide, the political leaders had knowledge of the genocidal acts being committed by the notorious Janjaweed. Is knowledge enough to make the government guilty? Did the Janjaweed have the intention to destroy? Opposing parties' objectives. Government of Sudan. Cutting out the African tribesmen in order to disrupt the two movements' recruitment drives. Sudan Liberation Army Movement and Justice and Equality Movement. The objective of the SLA is to create a united democratic Sudan, an economic and a political system that addresses the uneven development and marginalization that have plagued the country since the independence. The conflict. It began in February 2003 when the Sudan Liberation Army Movement and the Justice and Equality Movement groups in Darfur took up arms accusing the Sudanese government of oppressing non-Arab Sudanese in favor of Sudanese Arabs. Consequences. There have been mass displacements and migrations, forcing millions into refugee camps or over the border and creating a large humanitarian crisis, and is regarded by many as a genocide. Theme. Everybody knows what Darfur is, but not many people know what is really happening in the country. It is important for us to be aware of the problems instead of having a vague idea. Truly, open your eyes.
Welcome to Go!